Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie, Esther here, and I've already got people asking me what do I think is going to be the chapter for chapter 14, and normally I'm like, hey, can't we just like relax and enjoy the chapter that's coming out? Stranger Things isn't even out yet, comes out tomorrow, and people are already like, I want to know about the next one, start speculating about the next one. And I was gonna lay off and wait, but you guys just really want to hear about this evidence about the next chapter, so we're going to talk about it. Here we go. Okay, so as you may remember from one of my previous videos, one of the pieces of evidence about who the survivors were going to be in the Stranger Things chapter were the fact that Matthew Cote and Patricia, who works at Behavior as a community manager, were both following Joe Keery and Natalia Dyer, the actors who play Steve the Hare Harrington and Nancy Wheeler from Stranger Things, and that was kind of the catalyst that set off that, hey, these are probably going to be the survivors because they're following them. They want to make sure that they are following the Twitters when they announce, hey, check me out, I'm in the new video game on Dead by Daylight, blah, blah, blah. So now we have some new follows that are happening, and people are blowing up my phone since Friday to talk about this. So let's check it out. So on Friday, somebody hit me up with a private message and said, hey, Paulie, did you see that Dead by Daylight started following Stephen King on Twitter? What do you think that means? Well, as of today, this morning, I'm being bombarded with stuff, and I'll tell you what everybody thinks it means. Everybody thinks it means that Dead by Daylight has snagged Pennywise from It for Chapter 14. Pennywise arguably is the biggest thing going in horror right now. It may not be the biggest property that's out there on the table, but it is certainly the biggest one in the moment. Pennywise is huge right now. It would be a great get. Do I think that this follow means that they got him? Not necessarily. So as we talked about with the Joe Keery and Natalia Dyer follows on Twitter, when you look at somebody's Twitter account on PC and you click who they're following, it shows you in reverse order who they started following most recently. You can do this with your own account and look up who you're following. It'll show you the person you started following most recently all the way down to the person that you followed first. So I don't really know why I'm being sent these messages that say that, hey, all three of these parties, Matthew Cote, Patricia from the community manager from Dead by Daylight, and Dead by Daylight, all just started following Stephen King today, because that's not the case. Now, I don't know what happens if you unfollow them and follow them again, if it makes it look like you just started following them. But as far as I can tell, when I look through the list of when they started following Stephen King, it's quite a while ago. For example, so Dead by Daylight started following Stephen King before they started following Not Queen, before they started following Hybrid Panda, and before they started following Bryce McQuaid. So that's quite a while ago, because Bryce was one of the first people on Dead by Daylight, got his own shirt as a content creator. We're going way back with this. For Matthew Cote, it seems like Matthew Cote started following Stephen King right around the same time that the Dark Tower movie came out, because the follows were like back to back, followed Stephen King and Dark Tower, the movie, Twitter account at the same time. So I would say it's probably around when Dark Tower movie came out. And for Patricia, she started following Stephen King before she even followed Behavior Interactive and many of the people who work at Behavior. So I think that that follow also goes back a long ways. So I don't know why it's now showing that they just started following these people, unless they're toggling them on follow and unfollow at the same time. Now, why would they do that? So with my video about how we all sleuthed out the identities of Steve and Nancy as the survivors based on Patricia and Matthew's Twitter follows, even if they didn't watch the video, somebody connected to Behavior would have watched the video and given them the heads up that that's how we figured it out. And if you or I were working for Behavior, we would make sure that we didn't do that again, right? It only makes sense that you would say, hey, we can't do this because they're going to catch on. So we got to make sure that we don't follow the people who are connected to this for next licensed property, right? So why are they clicking and unclicking it, or why is it, somehow becoming an alert saying that they've started following Stephen King recently? Doesn't make any sense. unless you were going to use it as a misdirection technique, right? That you would say, hey, if we click this on and off, there are people out there are going to notice, and then we're going to get them headed in the wrong direction, right? I mean, that's what makes sense to me. So, as I said, all these follows go way back. So did somebody think, hey, we have to unfollow these people, they're going to figure it out, and then they unfollowed it, and then they thought, oh, wait, now people are going to notice that we unfollowed Stephen King, so turn it back on. And like, they don't know what to do. I have no idea why it's alerting that they just start following them, because it isn't the case. Doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what's going on here. If this is misdirection or if it actually means something. It's pretty crazy, honestly. If it is a big game of misdirection, it could be them toggling them on and off so that people see it, and then they know that we know that they know that, oh, boom, my mind's exploding here. If it's just like a cat and mouse game to just say, hey, okay, now we've seen that we've gotten Paulie's attention, Hybrid Panda's attention, a few other people's attention. Now turn it off, and then they're going to wonder, why did we stop following them? And oh my gosh, what are we hiding? And then we really got them all going now. I don't know what's going on here, but it's some funny business is happening. And why would you contact Stephen King directly? Would he be the license holder for this? Because for the movies, it's a Warner Brothers. I don't know how much access to the media rights Warner Brothers has, but Warner Brothers definitely owns the film. So I don't know if by design they would also be the one to contact for video game rights. Uncertain. So if it isn't Pennywise, it's a different Stephen King property that they're supposedly interested in. What would that be? Would it be Jack Torrance from The Shining? Here's Johnny. Annie Wilkes from Misery. While I do enjoy some of these other Stephen King characters, we have to remember that characters who play the killer role in Dead by Daylight have to have a power, and these are just general humans. I don't know what Jack Torrance power or Annie Wilkes power would be. Same goes for like other characters in media, like Hannibal Lecter, somebody that I really enjoy too, but does he have a power? What would it be? So I don't know if like other Stephen King characters would be a good fit for Dead by Daylight. Hey, I'm all on board if they can make it work though. The sequel to the movie The Shining, Dr. Sleep, is coming out November 8th, and it stars an adult Danny Torrance revisiting the Overlook Hotel and his power of The Shining. We see the creepy twins in the hotel again. This is also another Warner Brothers property, so would you contact Stephen King for that, or would it defer to Warner Brothers? I have no idea. So the big argument against Pennywise coming into Dead by Daylight, well, there's two really. The first one's kind of silly. People say, we already have a clown in Dead by Daylight. But hey, we have two people swinging chainsaws in Dead by Daylight between the hillbilly and Leatherface, so I wouldn't say that that would be a restriction. But the other thing that people mostly say is that Pennywise is all-powerful and a god essentially unto himself, and he wouldn't like bow down to the entity because he would be as powerful as the entity, so he's not a good fit. I don't know if that's the case. I don't think that that would be a restriction either. You know, Dead by Daylight, I'm sure if they could get Pennywise, they could figure out something for him to do as a power and integrate him into the game very well. And honestly, I think the biggest piece of evidence that we have right now comes from Matthew Cote's own mouth. Now, this goes back a year, but this is something that he openly admitted to, that they had tried to get the Pennywise license already and they were politely turned down. Now, he said it wasn't a flat no, that the way that things work in Hollywood is that you are told, well, now's not a good time. And perhaps they revisited it and maybe now they're on board. But I'm going to show you or let you listen to this audio clip from a year ago of Matthew talking about the Pennywise license on his own stream from September 2018.
Can we get Stephen King's It for the Clown? I wish. Seriously, I have no problem saying that this is one we tried to get. It's not one that they're willing to discuss right now because obviously they're working on big things and they're not ready to talk about this license at this time.
So there you have it, right from the man's own mouth. Does that mean now a year later things have changed? It's quite possible. but he is definitely on the record as saying that they tried for Pennywise already and were turned down. So while these Twitter follows do definitely give us something to think about, it's pretty premature, and I don't think you could call them hard, solid evidence about what's going to happen with Chapter 14. Oh, so the one thing that we do know about Chapter 14 is that there isn't going to be a map introduced with that chapter. If we look here on the roadmap, when you look at where the section for Chapter 14 is, it doesn't say there's going to be a new map. That's because there's going to be a reworking of another map, presumably Haddonfield, just like how they did the rework for the Baton Preschool map and gave us 5 iterations of that map. Presumably there's going to be a rework for what they have said would be a standalone map. I'm assuming it would be Haddonfield, and we'd get multiple iterations of that map as a rework instead of a new map. So a chapter being released without a new map, some people think that that means it's more likely that it's going to be a licensed character. Some people think that that doesn't mean that it's going to be a licensed character. I don't know. Some people have gone so far as to say that they think that this means that it's going to be a standalone killer. But we have this statement here from Peanuts that says that nowhere did we say that there would not be a survivor released with Chapter 14. Honestly, the only thing we have to go from the roadmap is that there won't be a map with Chapter 14. Now, if Pennywise was going to be in Chapter 14, wouldn't people freak out if there wasn't a sewer map to go along with it? What character could they release from licensed properties that could not have a map to go along with it that you'd be okay with? Would Pennywise be one of them? I don't think so. I think a lot of people would expect a signature map to go along with a character like Pennywise. So for me, that makes it so that Pennywise is off the list for characters that could come out in Chapter 14. Do you agree? Personally, I really think they're working on something else with Lionsgate. This whole Kyle Gallner tweet thing about reworking Quentin's face makes me think that they are in current negotiations with Lionsgate on something else. It could be as simple as finally nailing down those alternate cosmetics for Leatherface, or it could be something bigger, such as an Annabelle or a Nun chapter. Now, out of either of those two characters, would you accept them without a signature map? Maybe? Unsure. So that's all I have for you today. I don't think that we've really solved anything here, but I know that you guys want to talk about it. And hey, part of the process is starting the dialogue, so we can build on this, right? And just be vigilant and see if there are more clues that come out of this. Now I can go back to discovering the identities of all of the Masked Singers on Fox Season 2 show. By the way, the thingamajig is Victor Oladipo, basketball player for the Indiana Pacers. You heard it here first before the show even premieres. Let's see if I'm right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care of each other out there in the fog. Bye-bye.